A warning to all about to listen to this podcast. The following audio may contain spoilers and inappropriate language, but most importantly, this podcast will definitely contain some bad opinions. You have been warned, but for now, let's get on with the show.
Hey there everybody, it's another episode of Ego Without Amigos. This time it's number 3, and I don't know what the title is, but I'm sure it'll be terrible. So let's dive right into it. This is about the fall season. What new shows have been coming out, what new episodes have been launching, you know, all the good stuff. Just take a minute to say, fuck having to watch things week to week, but at least I know that there will be some good stuff this time. Let's start off with the first show I watched from this season. That'll be Akatsuki no Yona. So, this episode started out pretty weak. There was a generic airhead girl, humor from her being taunted by a childhood friend, you know, all that generic good stuff that goes into silly, shoujo anime that doesn't really apply to general audience things. It's kind of like Madoka, but Madoka gets intense, it stays intense, and you know it's intense. But in the same way, this show really amps up the atmosphere, the attitude. It goes ahead and just makes it stunning. So, at first you see Yona, just the princess, being interested in her cousin, not being interested in her childhood friend, you know, all that generic good stuff. But the ending shoots the atmosphere all the way up, removes the silliness entirely, and lets the show be an actually good show for once. I'm not going to spoil the twist. I'm not going to spoil the twist for any of these episodes that I'm going to be talking about this podcast. But I just want to say, this is the season for twists. I can tell you right now. 4 of the 6 shows I'll be covering this time had twists in the first episode. I'm not going to mention them because I think that's all about how the show will grab your attention. I just want you to know how it is going in and to not be disappointed. But I'm pretty sure you're not going to be disappointed. So, let's see. So, Akatsuki no Yona, I'm looking forward to watching it more. I'm looking forward to see what happens. They haven't really explained too much of the plot yet, only left a bunch of questions. We'll find out. The OP was pretty meh. I was strongly considering not watching this show or the episode just when I opened it up because the OP was that boring. Very, very standard, medieval Japan imagery, not very flashy, very, very solemn looking. The music was pretty boring. It didn't really match the show, and I'm happy about that. Let's move forward and talk about the next show, Grisaia no Kajitsu. First things first, the animation is pretty damn stunning. It's really fluid, makes the show seem a lot more approachable. The aspect ratio for the show is also strange, doesn't really fit. It has, those cinematic bars on the top and the bottom of the screen, but it really helps to make it seem a lot more cinematic as a result, and you want to watch it. The animation, the fluidity of the animation really contributes. The opening scenes, they all look surprisingly realistic. Obviously you know that it's animated. It's not CGI or anything, but it's pretty damn close to what animated real life would look like if such a thing were possible. Thing of note, there is male nudity in the first episode of this very clearly harem show. That can only be answered by a single what. The show itself is very light novel-y at times. You can tell where it derives from. Sometimes the characters seem to be talking to the viewer rather than the protagonist. It's actually not that bad. It translates well, and it really fits the show. Just a couple of lines from the show itself. A couple of quotes. Are you what they call a tsundere? Obviously these are from subs, but goddamn, something about that. My sides, in orbit, 10 out of 10. So I can confirm who the best girl is already. It's Michiru. She's definitely the best girl, no arguments, shut up. But I will say a couple of contenders are there. The Sakaki, she's pretty damn interesting. We'll have to wait and see. And I'm talking about Sakaki Yumiko. She has the best voice actor. When her voice was first revealed, I was shocked and immediately interested in her character. Another line of note from the show, they're masturbating. This is in reference to the fact that the male protagonist gets home and there's no homework, so what does he assume everybody's doing? Obviously, they're masturbating. 10 out of 10 show. Best show of the season confirmed. One thing about the show is that it's censored right now. It's censored while it's airing. No glorious tits yet. We'll have to wait and see. So I was saying that this season is a season of twists. That ending, oh my god. Will not reveal anything, but hype intensifies. Moving on. Let's talk about World Trigger. The OP is pretty good. Song is mellow, and at the same time not mellow. The visuals are a bit lacking, but there's nothing to really complain about. It works. So the show itself starts off with an opening explanation on background of the show. It's pretty well drawn. Definitely brings back older anime imagery, while other parts of the show are standard modern animation. Nothing, stands out. Nothing's, super high-techy, but at the same time, it works. It's nothing to complain about. The show itself, let's just say, it's very shonen. It doesn't exactly have all the intrigue that an otherwise non-shonen show would have. It has some really standard ideas, portal with giant monsters that come through. Kind of generic, but at the same time, you can't necessarily go wrong there. It's a tried and true method, and obviously adding one more to the genre doesn't exactly hurt. It's worth a try. Hopefully it turns out well. Hopefully it makes a few differences. It makes a little bit of change to the traditional, method that's been approached. But there's nothing to really complain about there. I mean, if you're looking for a different show, a different kind of thing, something new, obviously this isn't the show for you. In my opinion, the best part of the show so far was clearly the bullies who ironically pretend to be Four Eyes' fan club. One of the lines in the subtitles was, "He's a fine example of a man." And I actually burst out laughing. It was great. If, more humor is introduced to the show, it won't hurt. Hopefully, it just, it's at a very moderate level right now. Nothing too exciting, nothing too boring. Maybe if it stays there, it stays about the same, that'll be fine. If it tries to go beyond and succeeds, well, more power to it. Yeah, that's about it. The twist at the end of the first episode, though, that's pretty neat. Hopefully that works out. Maybe that will add some sort of mystery and thrill to the show. We'll watch. I'll watch. You might not. Who knows? Okay, moving on to Ushinawareta Mirai wo Motomete. Or, when I say it not butchered, In Search of Lost Future. It starts off jumping right in, no character introductions, you just get into a classroom and see interactions as they occur. The show's pretty good, I would say, so far. It has a pretty good approach to making it seem organic. You see how the astronomy club's conversations occur, they occur in real time, the reactions to each other show off much more realistic emotions than you would see in other anime. You see awkward moments. This show is probably the king of awkward moments. It pulls them off. It shows awkward moments happening. And the awkward moments define the show. The slow moments, the slow, oh crap, what's gonna happen next? How are these two characters gonna resolve their, little issues? It works. They completely pull it off. And I want to watch the rest of the show just for that reason. There are a few things else that add to it, like the art style. The character design and all of that looks pretty damn genuine. It's true to life, it doesn't exaggerate much. The hairstyles are normal. Just one thing, that scene with Senpai and the teacher, all of my what. Moving on. The show, it makes a dramatic shift at the end. It's another one of those damn twists from this season. It reminds me a lot of Steins Gate. That one scene alone makes me like this show a lot. It makes me look forward to watching it. It's incredibly promising. Maybe it'll live up to expectations, maybe not, who knows. So far, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully the fact that it has a light novel to go on will make it better. It definitely has a few routes inside of its plot. It's definitely using its source. It's definitely working its way towards being an anime that you actually want to see. It's good. That's basically what I'm trying to say here. Just watch it. Give it a shot. Moving on, we're stopping with the twists here. No more twists in these last two shows. Madan no Oto Vanadis. I have no idea how to pronounce that, and Vanadis is apparently a made-up word. So let's just move on. The show starts out, it seems really complex, intertwined, a lot of complicated names, places, events. It seems like a fantasy novel. Like you pick up Lord of the Rings, and suddenly it just throws a bunch of names at you, a bunch of places, a bunch of things that happened. But no. This show actually manages to simplify that. Starts off with a bunch of different complex things, but you end up with one character. You end up with his role. That's it. Throughout the course of the show, the first episode, you see a baby dragon. That's pretty cool. The characters in the show, pretty cool. They're something else. They don't take the generic caricatures or roles. They present something original, something natural. They don't have, typical tsundere, typical loser boy, or typical lord, or anything of the sort. They have good roles, and they can be twisted and changed and modified as the show wants. And hopefully that keeps up. They don't start slipping into generic, roles that we've seen in other anime. The animation is really nice. It's not too flashy, but at the same time, doesn't really spare anything. It works. There's no complaints here. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of the show. It has a pretty cool atmosphere, and the world seems really well developed. It doesn't extend too far into fantasy, like I was mentioning. It's not a Lord of the Rings book or a Song of Ice and Fire or anything. It's not in the realm of reality. It reminds you of that, but at the same time, it guarantees that it will stay within reasonable fantasy. So moving on to the last show that I'm going to be covering, Parasyte, the Maxim. 20 seconds into the show, and this shit is already free. What? There's bodies, and they're being eaten by each other, and weird creatures and everything. Free. I like it. And I can pretty much tell you that I found the best OP of this season. The auto-tune aside, the music is pretty great. It's kind of techno-y, kind of metal, kind of hard rock. It's good, and it works. And I don't know if it actually fits the show. It doesn't fit the first episode, but it's neat, and it's a reason to watch the show. First thing that stands out, besides the weird things, is the character design. This is some good stuff for something that, initially appears so otherwise mundane. You see the father, you see his little mustache, you see the mother's hairstyle. It's not, generically falling down. It's some of it is tied back. Some of it is let down. It's actually pretty well done. The main character's glasses are actually slightly different than you would expect. They're a little bit modified. They're, it's the little things, and they really add to the character design. The hair is not over the top, and it's not super simple, but it works. So the concept is really cool. I won't go into it because it's kind of a spoiler, but if you look up anything about the show, you will know what I'm talking about. It's pretty neat. It reminds me of Den-O Coil. The protagonist gets his own special reason for being the protagonist. You already know that it's going to be somewhat silly, but it's going to get serious. The news headlines in the show tell you all of that. It shows something that, it's kind of with all the scares going around right now about Ebola and other organ melting diseases. This is a whole other kind of parasite, and I think you'll like it. The anime actually has a different character design for the protagonist than the manga, and I think that's pretty cool that they decided to diverge from that a bit. Overall, I'm looking forward to watching this show. I'm looking forward to watching all of the shows that I just listed, apart from maybe World Trigger. That might be a little lower on the list, But so far, this season looks pretty neat. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to some twists. Even if there aren't twists, I'm looking forward to the continuation of the things that happened in these first episodes. It looks exciting. I thought this, at first glance of this season, would be kind of bland, full of moe, full of, slice of life genericness. Some action sprinkled into there, but it's not. And I'm looking forward to it. So that's the end of this review. That's the end of Ego Without Amigos. Catch you next time. See ya.